Across America's farmlands, a crisis is quietly but relentlessly unfolding. Once, these fields were the backbone of the nation, feeding millions and fueling the economy. Today, however, the landscape tells a different story. A story of uncertainty, hardship, and mounting anxiety. The livelihoods of countless farmers, who have dedicated their lives to working this land, are now under threat. For generations, families have risen before dawn, braving the elements and the market's whims, all in the hope of a better future. But now, that future is in jeopardy. The Trump administration's trade war has triggered a cascade of economic challenges. Soaring costs for equipment and supplies, retaliatory tariffs from foreign buyers, and a dramatic collapse in crop prices have all converged, squeezing farmers from every direction. The financial pressure is relentless, and the uncertainty grows with each passing season. Nowhere is the pain more acute than in the soybean industry. China, once America's biggest buyer, suddenly halted all purchases, leaving farmers with nowhere to send their harvests. The ripple effects have been devastating, not just for individual farmers, but for entire rural communities that depend on agriculture to survive. Mountains of unsold crops now sit in silos, slowly losing value. At the same time, devastating floods have swept across the Midwest, submerging fields and destroying months of hard work in a matter of days. For many, bankruptcy is no longer a distant fear, it's a looming reality. Fields that should be bursting with life are underwater. Tractors and harvesters, once symbols of progress, now sit idle and rusting. The optimism that usually comes with planting season has been replaced by a heavy sense of anxiety and fear for the future. Generational farms, passed down from parent to child, now face the unthinkable. Many are being forced to sell off land or treasured machinery just to make ends meet. The loss is not just financial, but deeply personal, as families grapple with the end of a way of life that has defined them for decades. The heartland is battered by a perfect storm of economic and natural disasters. Each blow chips away at the foundation of rural America, shaking communities to their core and leaving scars that may take generations to heal. As the sun rises over the battered fields, the future of American farming hangs in the balance. The storm has broken, but its aftermath lingers. For the families who remain, hope is fragile, but the determination to endure runs deep. The next chapter for America's heartland is unwritten, and its outcome will shape the nation for years to come. In response, the Trump administration is considering a multi-billion-dollar bailout for struggling farmers. The aid, funded by tariff revenue or emergency reserves, targets those hit hardest by lost exports, especially soybean, corn, and wheat growers. While officials frame this as vital for national security, many farmers see it as a temporary fix, not a real solution. The bailout is a bandage, not a cure. No government check can replace the stability and pride of selling on a free market. Farmers want their markets back, not a handout. With China's market closed to American soybeans, a seismic shift has rippled through the heartland. For years, China was the single largest buyer of U.S. soybeans, absorbing nearly a third of the entire crop. Now, with that door abruptly shut, American farmers are left with mountains of unsold beans and a growing sense of uncertainty about the future. The impact is visible everywhere, from the quiet fields to the empty silos that once brimmed with promise. In response, the administration is scrambling to find new buyers for America's massive soybean surplus. Every day, officials are meeting, strategizing, and reaching out to potential partners around the globe. The pressure is immense, as each passing week means more soybeans in storage and more financial strain on the farming community. Officials are urging countries like India to step up their purchases, hoping that increased demand from new markets can help offset the loss of China. Trade delegations are traveling abroad, showcasing the quality and reliability of American soybeans and negotiating deals in hopes of opening new doors. This global push is part of a broader strategy to stabilize the farm economy and reduce America's dependence on a single dominant buyer. The goal is to diversify export markets, making the industry more resilient to future shocks. But the transition is anything but easy. Replacing China's enormous demand is a monumental challenge. No other country or group of countries comes close to matching the scale of China's appetite for soybeans. The numbers are staggering, and the gap left behind is daunting for both farmers and policymakers. New sales to Europe, Southeast Asia, and Latin America are being celebrated as small victories. Each new contract is a step forward, a glimmer of hope in a difficult time. But these deals, while important, are not enough to absorb the vast surplus or to fully replace what was lost. The industry, built over decades around the needs and demands of China, simply can't pivot overnight. Infrastructure, supply chains, and business relationships all need time to adapt, and for many, that time is running out. Farmers see the government's efforts and appreciate the push for new markets, but many fear it's too little, too late. The financial pressures are mounting, and the uncertainty is taking a toll on families and entire communities. The solutions being offered may not be enough to save every farm from the current crisis. For some, the search for new horizons comes too late, and the future of American farming hangs in the balance, waiting for a breakthrough that may or may not come. In recent years, the global soybean market has undergone a seismic shift, one that few could have predicted just a decade ago. China's retaliation in the ongoing trade dispute with the United States has redrawn the global soybean map, sending shockwaves through the agricultural world and upending long-standing trade relationships. Once the world's largest buyer of American soybeans, China now turns its attention, and its vast purchasing power, to Brazil and Argentina. This pivot has left American farmers, who once relied on Chinese demand, suddenly sidelined and facing an uncertain future. The silos that once brimmed with hope now stand idle, and the hum of farm equipment has quieted across the Midwest. The sting is especially sharp as news breaks of China's massive purchases from Argentina, coming just after the U.S. extended aid to that very country. For many American farmers, it feels like a double blow, losing a key market while watching competitors benefit from their own government's outreach. If the trade war drags on, there's a growing fear that China's new supply chains could become permanent. The longer these new relationships are cemented, the harder it will be for U.S. farmers to regain their foothold, potentially locking them out of the world's largest soybean market for good. The anxiety is palpable. Decades of painstaking market building, relationships forged, trust earned, and infrastructure developed could vanish almost overnight, replaced by South American competitors eager to fill the void. For many, it's not just about lost sales, but about the erasure of a legacy built over generations. China's swift and decisive pivot demonstrates not only its immense leverage in the global market, but also its willingness to endure a prolonged conflict if necessary. By rapidly securing new suppliers, China signals to the world that it can adapt and thrive even in the face of economic warfare. For U.S. farmers, this isn't just a bad season or a temporary setback. It's the possible erasure of a market painstakingly built over generations, a market that once provided stability, prosperity, and hope for rural communities across the country. The iconic Made in America brand, once a symbol of agricultural strength and reliability, now risks being replaced on the world stage. If current trends continue, U.S. agriculture could be weakened for years, or even decades to come, leaving behind empty fields, shuttered barns, and a legacy in jeopardy. As the trade war drags on, frustration boils over in farm country. Farmers feel like pawns in a geopolitical chess match, bearing the brunt of economic pain while competitors thrive. Watching China buy from Brazil and Argentina while U.S. crops sit unsold is a bitter pill. President Trump promises action, but many farmers are skeptical, tired of words, desperate for results. The emotional toll is as heavy as the financial one, fueling a sense of isolation and betrayal in rural America. Most farmers don't want bailouts. They want open markets. Their pride is rooted in selling crops, not collecting government checks. Aid is a stopgap, not a solution. It can't replace the stability of global trade. Farmers urge the administration to restore trade relationships, not design more subsidies. They see themselves as entrepreneurs, not wards of the state. Their plea is simple: let us compete, let us sell, let us farm. Time is running out to resolve the U.S.-China trade dispute and save the soybean market. Every week without a deal, China's new supply chains grow stronger, threatening to make the loss permanent. Farmers warn, if a deal isn't reached soon, America could be shut out for decades. The stakes are enormous. A failed negotiation could devastate rural America for a generation. The pressure is immense, with livelihoods and futures hanging in the balance. The hope for a quick fix has faded. Now it's a race against time to prevent lasting catastrophe. Without a trade deal, the U.S. risks losing its $47 billion soybean industry and the rural communities that depend on it. The damage would ripple through the entire supply chain, weakening America's economy and global influence. China's new partnerships with Brazil and Argentina could sideline the U.S. for years. Rebuilding lost markets would be slow and costly, if possible at all. This isn't just about soybeans, it's about America's place in the world. The trade war threatens to leave deep, permanent scars on the nation's heartland. The American soybean farmer's resilience is being tested like never before. Fields once full of promise now symbolize anxiety and loss. Aid packages offer little comfort. What's needed is a return to free and fair markets. As China cements ties with South America, the fear of permanent replacement grows. The window for a deal is closing, and the stakes for rural America couldn't be higher. The fate of the heartland is a cautionary tale about the cost of failed diplomacy. The story isn't over. Its outcome will shape the future of American agriculture.